Hello and welcome to Keeping It Real. I'm David Grossman. Great to be here on All Talk TV, broadcasting from Fitzgerald's Pub on Queen Street in the Beach. Great to be here. Still a little cold, but spring is around the corner. In fact, next week I'm speaking with Joe White. Joe White is a franchise advisor. He's the franchise rainmaker, and he's back today. Joe, thanks for coming into the studio today. Good to have you back.
Good. The day before St. Patrick's.
Absolutely. So, it's an exciting time with St. Patrick's tomorrow. You have anything exciting planned for tomorrow?
Just keeping people in the green.
Keeping people in the green. Well, that's good. People like to be in the green or in the black, better than being in the red.
Yeah, as long as it's with the green.
And what we're here to talk about is staying in the green, right?
Absolutely.
Staying in the green. So, but it's not all about the green, and it's not all about the money, of course. And we want to actually talk about one of the things we want to talk about today is a chapter.
Oh, yes.
You wrote in this book called Personal Discovery, and you talk about the F's.
Yes,
and
we do.
Some people could get the wrong idea, but it's not at all. It's not at all about some of the bad words that may come to people's mind. It's about a lot of the good words and setting priorities.
Yeah, that book came about actually as a collaborative effort from a number of my friends and colleagues who are in the business coaching and counseling, and we came together and decided that we would put some thoughts on paper together and share some ideas and put it out there under that title of A Personal Discovery. Of course, that was initiated by my own, everybody needs a coach, right? It's important, but my own personal business coach at the time was, and still is to a certain degree, a guy named Carl Gould out of New Jersey. And so it was a collaborative effort of him. So I've always had this theory about the letter F, and that's sort of what I was writing about there.
Right. So you wrote about the F's, and in terms of F's being a way to set your priorities.
Yeah. What would happen is, people will often say, oh, set your goals, but they don't align to things that are important in their world. And so if you take a moment and you reflect on those things that are important in your world, it's interesting because it actually goes with a story. I think it's even better if I do it that way.
Sure.
I have a friend, years ago, we were actually sitting in a pub and we got talking about priorities in your life, and it was not a pub unlike Fitzgerald's here, where we are today, but talking about the priorities in life. And it was interesting that we sort of came to a sudden realization that those things that were really, really important to us, many of them, if not most of them, actually started with the letter F.
Okay, like what, for example?
Well, for example, as I sit here with you today, like family. Family is a big priority in my life, and I'm sure in most of the people that are out there today that we're talking to. Your friends.
Yes, right.
Your fortune, the way you feel about that, your feelings.
Right.
Your fears, your quest for fame.
Yes.
Your finances. Felicity, the bliss that you seek to have in your life, fitness, your fears, the frankness, forthrightness, all of these things, all of these words sort of conjure up some kind of image in your mind about priorities and things that are important to you, right?
Right. So how does one set their priorities? Do people often get things mixed up, do you think?
Well, they don't think about it. They know it, but they've never sat and thought much about it. So for me personally, when I sit down, I look at things that are important. One of the other things that I absolutely forgot to mention was faith. The importance of faith in your everyday life and where it falls. So what I encourage people to do in that chapter in the book is sit down and list your F's. And you don't start with any particular order, but it might be family, friends, fortune, faith, fitness, food, fears, whatever.
Right.
And that they are. And then you say to yourself, well, what are the most important to you? So how do you know they're the most important, right? So what you have to do is step back and say, okay, pick 4 or 5 out of that list of maybe 10 to 15. And it's amazing how many you'll come up with. But pick 4 or 5. Most people I encourage to pick 5, and And they may go say, okay, they may be family, friends, fortune, fitness, faith.
Okay.
So now I picked those out. Now why are they important? Because you don't know where they really fall. Gut-wise, right brain-wise, you have an idea. Left brain, you maybe haven't figured out yet. So you say, well, why is family? Why is family important? And you can list a number of things that are important to you. It's my grandchildren, or it's just my extension of myself, whatever that is. And you list them out. And then you do likewise with, say, faith. What does it mean to you? How does it come together for you? And then fitness as an issue. And then your own, your friends. Who are your friends? Why? Or how important they are? And so when you step back and you look at your F's, you'll discover that these are the things that are really, really important in my life.
Right.
Now you're at a place when you've set those, now you can organize them. So just for personal example, let's say it's family, friends, fortune, faith.
Okay.
That might be your priorities in life. Now I can set goals.
Yes.
I can set goals that actually align to the letter F's. Now why is it simple to look at it that way and say to yourself, well, why is it to do that is because F's, it's easy to remember. You can step back and say, you know, how are my F's today? How the F am I?
How the F am I?
How the F am I?
Right.
And those, and you'll see that what'll happen to you is that your priorities or what you're thinking about may shift from time to time. But overall, this is okay, this is okay. Now, here's an interesting thought, David. If I know your priorities, if I know what your 4 F's are for you, and I asked you to set goals that match your priorities, what do you think the possibilities of those goals being achieved if they're matched to your personal priorities?
Well, I think it's going to certainly make my life a lot easier if I'm, you know, going after the things that matter to me and choosing to do things that are aligned with my goals and my priorities.
So when you look at very good, because when you look at things, if you know the priorities, so think about yourself, but think about maybe yourself as an employer. And you sat with me as your employee. You said, tell me what's important in your world. When you know, obviously you'd look sideways at your boss if you ever asked you a question like that. But why is that important to you? And it would be interesting because you might have an interesting discussion with your boss. But now he can bring the corporate goals or the corporate mission or and apply them. So if we can achieve these kind of things, this is what it's going to mean to your family. This is what it's going to mean to your friends. This is what it's going to mean to all of those things. And so you link goals to priority, and the chance of those being accomplished just goes right through the roof.
Right.
But what do all of our so-called geniuses of career planning and tell us to do? You gotta have goals.
Right.
No, you gotta have priorities.
Okay, that's
then
true.
You can have
Makes
goals.
sense. Makes sense. Start with your priorities, then go to goals. And now I want to talk about how then those goals can relate to your activities, your career, and your business. Because as the franchise rainmaker, I think that's probably something important for you to know when you talk to people about what their priorities are and what their goals are.
Well, in fact, within the process that I go through in helping people find their right franchise, find their right business. No coincidence that we're at Fitzgerald's. It starts with F and I'm in franchising. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, so if I know those things, then I can help people formulate their strategies for getting their right business or opportunities. Now, it's fascinating because there's a real push-pull as people start setting priorities. Because you've got your current reality, which may be I need to make money.
Yes.
So the fortune F is high up on the list. It might not be there. It might not be where they want it to be, but necessity dictates that fortune is now my #1 priority.
Right.
It's like the fat guy has to move the fitness priority up because if he doesn't do anything, he's going to fall apart.
Right.
So people have their sort of two things, and they can be a little bit out of balance. So I'll have people often say to me, for example, well, family's really, really important to me, but right now I've got to move this in order to look after their family. They're not really trading off that value, but they're recognizing that they've got to do things. So they become very fortune focused, and there's prices to pay
Right.
for them to do that over the time, but understand that the family's going to suffer. There's going to be a price to pay in that, but that's their reality. So what we struggle with then is when we get people in talking to me or on these things, I'll have this discussion with them about setting their life priorities. And so when you get to a point where you say to them, you know, if I can find that business, and maybe it was that allows you to give you that kind of time with your family, that allows you that extra time to do things differently with your friends or whatever.
Right.
That's going to create this amount of wealth to you that you're going to feel like you're giving back, and whatever that faith or drive is within you to do that. Am I on the right path? And it's like, because most people can't do that.
Yeah.
And that's what we deliver. You know, we try to get the idea that formulate a strategy. Now, once I know what that is, same thing. And it's amazing when you're making decisions how effective that can be. How the F am I feeling today?
Right. Do you find that sometimes will want certain things, but they're not willing to pay the price, let's say? Because, I mean, if you ask people, who wouldn't want fortune?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, everyone would say they want fortune. Oh, it's, you know, they talk
Great
about it, they
question.
think about it, but are they prepared to do the work and make the sacrifices?
Great question. The fact of the matter is that's some of the things that you identify, because, you know, not everybody is money motivated. There's lifestyle motivations and different things or where they are at that stage in their life. So although they may say them, and I'll tell you what, David, show me a man with a pile of money in a corner and no friends and no family, and I'll show you an unhappy man.
Right, right.
Although it may be there, that type thing, that he has it stored away that way, he's got it and he feels okay about it, he's not happy.
True.
So people have to figure that out. What's a lot of money? What's enough money? Where's that comfort level? You know, maybe $60,000 for you is a fortune, or for whoever you are, because you made 40 before. That's great.
Right.
If that's your fortune level, I mean, those are the things that we have to talk about with people and determine. Like, you should never assume that your $1 million is enough for anybody, you know, or on the other side. Right. So let's decide what that is.
Okay, now one of the things I guess you have to determine when you're working with people to find the right franchise is whether they would be more suited to working with business to business type franchises or business to home, let's say.
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting thing, because there's really, I think you really have to understand that there's 5 different kinds of categories. We maybe should sort of identify those and then sort of come to grips a little bit with them. We can talk about whatever one you want to, but there's really 5. And the first one is we just look at straight retail, right? You can be in a retail business. That can be retail like service, you know, where you're getting something done to you, or retail where you have an inventory of products that you move out and you make money. That's one way in franchising. The other one
is that like a
7-Eleven
store
or a convenience store type thing.
Or is a restaurant considered?
No, that
not
would go into my second category, which is the food category.
All right.
And food really has 3 different kinds overall. Very briefly, there's family dining. We'd take the whole gang out and have a good time out. And there's many number of chains around that deal with that many people would be familiar with. And then there's QSR, quick serve restaurants. You know, that's still under that food umbrella.
Right.
And then there is the specialty where you're going to make it like on one item, like a pizza or a sub or an ice cream or something of that nature. So, and they're all bricks and mortar environments. And then, of course, then you got another category, the business to business, which we'll talk more detail, I guess. And then the other category is business to consumer, or products that are delivered into the home or whatever.
Okay.
And the 5th category is automotive, you know. Find a location, build a garage.
Okay, so let's talk about the business to business.
Good idea.
How do we know if somebody's suited for that? What are the upsides? What are the downsides?
Oh, wow. Loading me up real good, are you? Real good there, David. Well, let's deal with them individually. If I forget one, help me out, okay?
Please do, yeah.
Now, the business-to-business franchise, those are any kind of service and or product that can be delivered to businesses by an individual. And so some examples of things like that we could maybe look at are, well, you could be commercial cleaning might be an example of one. We could be looking at internet connectivity, you know, providing for the needs within the business for proper internet connectivity. It could be digital media marketing, helping people build out those things. It could be print, it could be signs, it could be any product and or service that's delivered to those businesses. And I always forget a few, so forgive me. But the other thing too about them is that the lifestyle that you'll get out of these businesses is a little different. Like typically they can be home based, you know, or a very small office.
Okay.
So that's nice for people, you know, that are there. And the kind of person that gravitates to them are people that have a pretty good, solid background in business. You know, other categories like business coaching.
Okay, right.
You know, helping people, coaching the growth in their business, any number of opportunities, a lot of variations on a theme. You got to make sure.
That's a very popular area now. I mean, the last few years, it seems everybody has a coach.
Yeah, everybody wants to be called a coach. I mean, I'm a certified master business coach myself.
Yes.
But it's you know, when you look at it from a franchising perspective, like anything, there's some good ones and there's some that let's give that one another look or whatever. And there's different ideas of how to go about dealing with them. But what you'll see is you'll have a lot of executive type people or people that have played key roles or are good broad-based strategic type thinkers. You know, you can even get into accounting, but type thing that are out there stretching along that path. And you'll find that they generally like that idea. They don't really see themselves in doing anything but being in a business, helping business owners do things. And so there might be a very strong leadership profile, really want to drive, really want to help. There's a certain amount of sales and marketing attached to that. So it's one of their challenges with embracing those models. But boy, you get a nice lifestyle. You can work from your home if you're capable of that. And away you go, or small office. So it's really interesting.
Is there a category that people don't know much about?
Yeah, there's a number of them, but you know, there's one. You know, it's amazing when you look at the kind of thing. There's one category, I mean, that we see growing at a phenomenal rate, and is that in the area of temporary workers.
Okay.
Think about that. You know, like temporary workers, and like today businesses are constantly looking for ways to save money, make their costs variable, all those kind of things. And the idea of employing temporary workers is a pretty cool idea.
Right.
And then you've got the old, remember we talked about the over 50 workers that are looking for choices or different types of things that they can do or experiences. They tend to gravitate into some of those positions. Or people just want to get exposure to different kinds of opportunities. Some people just like that kind of work. You know, there's a concept out there. I mean, and this that I'm very familiar with and comfortable with. It's just phenomenal. I mean, it's got a lot of sales. It's run it by three people basically run the business. You know, David, I'll tell you, I'm always kind of reluctant to give numbers here, but this particular model, they have about 600 locations, and their average sales per unit is about $4.5 million on temporary workers. And they work on a very, very hefty margin in type of that business.
So that really
people
is
wouldn't think of it.
Big, that's a growing field.
It's a growing field, not something people think about. Lifestyle's good, it's really charged up, very white collar, very professional.
Interesting.
And quite different from what nobody ever will call Joe White and say, yo, I need to get a temporary agency. That's my job to help them see if they've got that DNA.
Right.
You know, but it's something that you just don't think about. You know, you'll be aware of printing and you'll be aware of things like that and where's that all going and signage. But these kind of service type things to business can be very exciting. And it's always fascinating because what I'll get a call from most executives or high-end corporate people for whatever reason, or they want to head into this realm of food. Well, what do you know about food?
Right.
You know, I like eating. Well, that's not going to work.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, you know, but it plays into our conversation a few weeks ago when we were talking about how, you know, especially the over 50
Oh yeah.
crowd, there's a lot of talent around, and
Huge talent.
and you know, people maybe there may be opportunities with, you know, even as clients of temp agencies
Exactly.
so I can see that being a really growing.
It is. I mean, there's the growth rates. The numbers are just staggering, and it's not like nobody's talking about it. You're not hearing it, and you would not find that kind of opportunity. You wouldn't necessarily think of that opportunity for yourself.
Right. Well, I'm sure there's lots of them, and that's why
There's a number of them for
that's
sure.
why
Yeah.
people need to call you. And,
well, we enjoy that.
and find out, you know,
And,
what the,
and,
because
and,
you,
there-
I
and
know you
again,
do,
it's not for everybody, right, Dave? Same thing we always say. It's not for everybody.
and you have a system to do an evaluation for people
Oh yeah.
to help find. It's free of charge, I believe, too.
Yeah, that's right. Everything I do is free of charge to them, as long as they're engaging with me in a way that's
Right.
serious about helping them out.
Right.
All they want.
And they take a survey of some kind. You'll help them through a process
Yeah.
and come up with
Yeah.
suggestions for them.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like an amazing opportunity
Well,
for somebody who's in a transition
Yeah, like
of some kind.
well, or just wanting to exit that corporate
Right.
strategy.
Right.
You know, I think when we were talking the other day, you were telling me about your friend that was just getting crushed in terms of corporate environment and
Yeah.
stuff.
Right.
And you know, you never fire your boss, right? As long as you're it.
Right.
So it's it's really cool that way. So yeah, those are those business to business opportunities. You need to have a good, you know, you got to have good sense of business, what it's really about, maybe at a boardroom level,
Right.
to a certain degree. And I mean, not like giant boardrooms or whatever, but just small, you know, idea that, you know, you got to work in teams and build those things. Quite fascinating
Right.
stuff.
Well, I think people should fire their boss more often than they do. You know,
Absolutely.
why wait around until they decide to throw you out the door? If you see your career's not advancing, and you're stagnating, you know, just because you're
Yeah.
bringing home the paycheck, I mean, you know, we all enjoy it, but the fact is we got to look at the long term, right? Where are we going to be if we just sit
Yeah.
around and wait during the sometimes the prime of our lives?
Exactly. Well, I started my business 13, 14 years ago, and I've had no gaps in employment. And as a result of that, the difference is if I had stayed employed, I may have been 3 or 4 times looking for work. I don't
Right.
think I'd be doing what I'm doing today and having as much fun.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we do have a lot of fun. How much we enjoy having you on the show so much. So we talked about business to business. What about home services?
Yeah, home services is a really interesting category as well. Lots of things people wouldn't think about or be aware of. So how do we define that? So these are any products and or services that can be delivered to the home. And so people think about that. Well, what's that mean? Well, they cover a whole broad range of products and services. I'll give you a couple of examples. For example, it could be pet grooming. Let's really be ridiculous.
Right.
You come to the home, they come with your truck, out comes the dog, or you do it in the house, you can groom the dog. Or I don't think the cat would like it too much, but
Well, that's people love their pets. so
yeah,
that's for
and I mean,
sure.
there's a home service business. It could be handyman services.
Yes.
You know, and how are those things unfolding? What are those requirements?
I
And-
never even thought that are there handyman franchise services
Oh,
as well.
absolutely.
So some of these traditionally ma and pop type services, probably many of them are becoming franchised.
Well, and yeah, and when they become franchising, like at that level, particularly these service things, they become highly marketed, highly driven, home-based, buff, polished, webbed market,
Right.
all the right way. So how do you want to compete against them? The value proposition can really go up. You take a look at other things, you'll see them like, it could be property mitigation. You know, we got fire, smoke, and water damage. We can do flooring in your home.
Wow.
We can do drapes, blinds. We can do landscaping.
There's so much.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
I wouldn't
in-home
even
too.
imagine. I mean, when the average person thinks of franchise, they probably think of pizza.
Oh,
Right?
yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, there's probably hundreds,
gosh,
maybe
yeah.
thousands of
Well, how about this
available
one, David?
franchises.
In-home senior care, keeping seniors in your home. welcome to the world of the baby boomers who are now dealing with these issues themselves.
Wow.
Lots of opportunities in there. And then I think you and I share a mutual friend who is involved in the tutoring business,
Right.
you know,
Right.
created a franchise
An
around.
amazing franchise.
Amazing franchise delivering tutoring to the home right there, and taking away all the bricks, all the mortar, all those costs that you have
Yes.
in having a one-on-one variable business. I
Right.
mean, it's incredible what these opportunities have. And think of the lifestyle, home-based.
Right. Right.
You know, you're with your family. You're calling your shots. Hey, you know, do you wake up in the morning and say, I own a painting franchise? Maybe not. Maybe not. But
Yeah.
if it fulfills those other F's in
Very
your life,
interesting.
you know, that you're out there and you're doing those things, that's just it's the way it is. And they can make, if you imagine making more money in painting than you are as a corporate executive sometime, tell me, why are you doing? How does that happen?
I guess some of these franchises, they take care of or at least they have systems in place for marketing.
Absolutely.
So if you're somebody who likes to tutor people and you want to be a tutor, you don't necessarily have to be, pulling your hair out of your head thinking like, how am I going to find students?
Yeah, well, exactly. Or because marketing comes in play. I mean, I was down in Ann Arbor, Michigan a couple of weeks ago, and I met with a franchisor down there, and we're reviewing the systems and processes so that I'm comfortable talking to people about their brand and trying to understand, just so that that I make sure my people fit. But I mean, here's a franchisor through their marketing efforts had generated literally over 900 opportunities, leads if you want, for each individual
Wow.
franchise.
Wow.
So that's what you're getting.
That's pretty awesome.
It's a, and how do they do it? And it's just the genius of it. And in turn, how would you like to compete against that?
Right. Is there a category in the home-based services that people might overlook?
Oh God, yes. There's any number of them.
Okay.
But the other beauty of some of these rep systems like that is we don't talk about it, but it's creating recurring revenue.
Yes.
So anytime you can look at a business, and it's like a subscription, it's like an AOL, it's like your internet connection into your home, it's like your cell phone. Just the money's in the subscription, right?
Right. Right.
So the one that people overlook is maid service business. Just think about that for a minute. Maid services. Who wakes up in that morning and yet there's some phenomenal success in cleaning people's homes. But it's not you cleaning the home. You're driving the business. And that's really what you have to know in franchising.
Right.
So you've got a fleet of, you've got a contract, you got an agreement in play for somebody's home. You're going twice a month, every week, whatever. You've got recurring revenue. Pay me this month, pay me next month, pay me next month. Get 40 or 50 people doing that for you every month. You got a nice business. You've got your maids going in, or your cleaning ladies going in, following a system, following a process the right way. You got your chance to manage and provide that quality control as you look at it. And what's the business built on? Marketing. It just builds recurring revenue.
Right.
And I mean, there's a system out there I know today that's phenomenal, the success that their franchisees have
For the maid
in
services.
doing that. There's one franchisor that over half of their, let's see if I can get this right. I think it's over 65, forgive me if I got this wrong, folks, but over 65% of their franchisees are MBAs, people that hold MBAs, maid service business. Why? Because when they look at the numbers and they see the
Isn't that
opportunity
interesting?
and
Yeah.
they pull it together, if you can park your ego and want to make money, great place to go.
Wow. Very interesting.
And that's a fascinating number. It just blows me away every time.
That is pretty amazing.
Type thing.
So Joe White is the person you want to talk to.
Thank you.
And if you're in a transition, or even if you're just thinking, maybe it's time for a change. What about my future? Where am I going with my career? And you want to talk to somebody like Joe, because he can help you, put you on the fast track, and of course to do it with the right priorities in mind. So you're in control, as opposed to when you go to work for somebody else and they say, here's what you're doing, here's what you're not doing, and so on. You're in control. Joe will put you in control. Joe is the franchise rainmaker, and if you want to get a copy of that chapter, so you can read about the 4 F's, and get your priorities straight, you can email Joe at jwhite@franchiserainmaker.com. And Joe, thank you very much for coming in today.
Pleasure's all mine, indeed.
Appreciate
Love to do it.
As always, have a happy St. Paddy's Day.
Yes, I will.
Nice having you here. And to you at home, happy St. Paddy's Day. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm David Grossman. You're watching Keeping It Real on All Talk TV.